So today, Sammy and I are here to find out if anyone from Heaven's side has anything to say in light of the recent uh, election results, actually. And I noticed there's a hurricane heading into the Gulf. Actually, two of them. One isn't a hurricane yet. But the one that is, Rafael, was thought it would become a category one. It's already a category three last time I looked. So do you have any comments on these amazing events going on? Ride the waves, dear. Ride the waves. Because the waves that are coming your way are from the ones who will wave to you and say, "Hey, I want to talk to you because you know something, don't you?" And you will say, "Yes, I do. I know a lot of things. And what I know, I know. What I don't know, I don't know. So what do you want to know?" And they will say, "I want to know how you can see anything good coming out of this story of the destruction of the USA." And you will say, "Well, God told me that this is the way that people would play in order to restore a trust on Him and on creation, you see, because the creative ability of humanity is directly linked to their ability to see the big picture. And there's a lot of people who are not seeing the big picture. They're only seeing a little corner of it. And why they don't step back and take a look at the big picture is beyond me. Because you see, I always have my finger on the controls of the story. Because I am the one who makes you, made you, sorry. And I'm the one that puts you to bed and tells you a bedtime story. And you say, "Well, that's a good story, God. The best story I've heard all day," which is what you say, Stephanie, isn't it? I really do. The stories that I have heard are the best stories that I have ever heard. Would make the best movies. It'd have to be a series, but man, they're good. They're logical, they're sensible, they satisfy my need for logic, they satisfy my need for seeing the bigger picture, so they're pretty powerful. Yes, they are. However, very few people are capable of stepping back and looking at the big picture because they have their heads stuck in a hole, you see, because the hole in the ground is the mole attitude. Just stick your head in a hole and the whole thing will disappear, you see? So they stick their head in a hole and they don't see the big picture at all. And so they squabble over whose hole is bigger and whose hole has more comfort and whose hole is the one that will be the best hole of all. And of course, you know that I'm making fun of the people who think they have the whole enchilada when they say, "Oh my God, this is going to happen today. Oh my God, this is what you say." And you got a good laugh today when you said something to someone who was obviously a Trump supporter, and you said something that was very clear. No problem there. You said everybody gets what they deserve, and this person will get what they deserve because everybody does. And someone said, "Well, God would not like that tone." And you said, uh-huh, I guess you think you're the one that tells God what he likes and what he doesn't like. And I have to say, I can speak for myself, dear. I can speak for myself. And I kind of like the way that my daughter does play when she does say what she knows to be true. And what she knows to be true is that we all deserve what we get. Even I deserve what I get. Because you see, this is what we serve ourselves. We serve ourselves a meal and then we eat it. And that's what we get. And so when you deserve the meal you eat, then you're the one that serves it to yourself. And you appreciate it because you say, good meal today, God. Good meal today. And I say, well, I only gave you on your plate the meal you asked for because you asked for it, didn't you? And you say, yes, I did, God. I asked for it. And you, Stephanie, don't have a problem with that because you know that you ask for everything you get. And you get it and you say, well, good meal today. And in your life, as Stephanie Patel, you've had much strife and you've had to say, boy, that was a bitter meal today. Didn't like it very much. And I say, well, what you asked for, dear, you asked for challenges. You asked for challenges because life was kind of boring to you when you were young, because you were so much more adept than the other children at looking at the big picture. So you got kind of bored when they would stick their head in a hole and say, hey, I like this hole because it's the whole enchilada, you see. I'm smarter than everybody else. And so don't bother me. And so you said, God, I need some challenges. And I gave you some challenges, didn't I? Boy, you sure did. And you rose to the challenges every time because you knew it was what you had asked for and that you deserved it, therefore, because it was what you served yourself. And those people who rise to the challenge because they know they asked for challenges so they wouldn't be so damn bored with the horde that just sticks their head in a hole and they're no fun at all. And so you asked me, God, could you help me to refine my energy? Because I can't really do it if I have to stand here with my head in a hole. So could I pull my head out of the hole? And could you help me find the whole enchilada? And I said, okay, because you aren't going to find the whole enchilada in that hole, my dear. You got to hear what I have to say to you. And so you listened. You listened very, very carefully. You listened to your heart. You listened to others. You listened to the sound of the lark in the tree. And you learned to distinguish between the three. You came to see that there was God, there was the nature on earth, and there was people who had their heads stuck in a hole, and a few that had pulled their heads out, and they were kind of fun, but they would run when they got a chance because they were not done with their own trajectory, you see, and so they had to keep moving because that's what you do when you have a mission to grow, you see. When you like challenges, you just say, well, this is getting kind of boring today, so I guess I got to move away, find a new challenge, and you say, hey, it was nice knowing you. I hope you come back this way someday. And they say, well, maybe, maybe not, I don't know, because I have to go see what else is out there, because I heard this or that, and I want to check it out, see if it's true. And so they do. And they are the ones who inspire you to continue to check it out too. So let's check out the recent election results, okay? Okay, God. The problem I see is not a problem at all, because the problem I see is only a challenge. It's not a problem, because a problem would be something you see that would not be solvable if you did not take on the challenge. So you took on the challenge and you came and you said to me, God, what do you think about this? And of course, you already knew what I thought about it because I already told you about it. I already told you. And you said, okay, God, I'll wait and see. And you waited to see and you said, oh man, I see the rising sea, God. So I guess you got that right. And you got it right that the people of the steeple would destroy the USA and I'd have to rebuild it, you see. And so you told me years ago that I should announce my candidacy for president of the USA. And you said, no way, God, that's stupid. I don't want to be president. Last thing I would want is to have to preside over a bunch of squabbling people with their heads in holes. And I said, oh, they do have their heads in a hole. And some people will take that expression and run with it. But I wanted you to see that all you had to do was trust on me. And you did trust on me. So you announced that you were running for president of the USA. But as you came to see, it had nothing to do with the political arena. And you didn't really care. Because once you came to see that you were running for presidency of the new nation under God, you said, well, that's okay. Because the president of the new nation under God is just the one who takes the role and says, hey, you got a soul to spare for a little more trust on reality? And they would say, well, yes or no, yay or nay. Sorry, yay or nay. And you would say, okay, if you're one of us, come on through the door to paradise. And if you're not, you might want to take the escalator down to hell because they rang a bell and said they're waiting for you. And so the world does go. And people have to come to know that love is all there is. There's nothing but love in reality. There's nothing but the love of God energy. God loves you and you love God, then everything is fine, you see. And by the way, my hand is still, even though I'm still moving, I'm still checking it out. So now let us be happy to see that all the people who are ready to be taken have identified themselves because I counted the votes, you see, and I'm always aware of every one of my children and how they wear their hair. So, although it might be a secret ballot in a certain way, it's no secret to me. So, if you voted for Trump, I'm well aware of it. If you voted for Harris, I know that too. If you voted for anyone else, I can tell you that I was watching you. And now I know which ones are ready to be taken because they'll be taken through the skyway into the afterlife because they will no longer be in the revolving door of the earth energy because they treated the earth, their mother, as if it was there just to cover their expenses, you see. would use it in any way it pleased them if it meant that they could continue to be the ones who were smarter than me. So they took the gift I gave them and they turned it into shit. And then they gave it back to me. And what am I supposed to do with all that shit? So I decided that I needed to put it in the garden. And of course, the garden is the Garden of Eden, so that the garden would grow. And the ones who gave me their love, you see, would have all they needed to sustain their energy while they're on earth, and they will have the best day ever, every day, because the best day ever is today. And if you can figure out how to get to another day that's not today, then you might say, well, I guess I'm smarter than God, because God's saying there's no way that I can be in any day but today. And even if you think you invent a time machine that will take you into a different realm, you see, it'll still be today that goes your way. And so let's give thanks for all the people who voted for annihilation, because I think the new nation will benefit from not having all those assholes around, because they are not found. They're just not found, because they keep going around and around and around on the same damn karmic wheel. And they know it. And as we have said before, the only way that a drug addict can become free of the drug, you see, is to stop taking it or to leave their physical form. And so the ones who voted for Trump are the ones who are drugged, you see. They are drugged to the extent that they have no grasp on reality. And they don't really give a shit about the USA. They don't give a shit about you, Stephanie. And they don't give a shit about me. They just give all their shit to each other, you see. And since they're all going away, all that shit will come back to me, and I will help you to restore paradise on earth, you see? So, because you listen to me and I listen to you, we talk it through, and you say, well, God, this is what I want to do. And I say, that's cool. This is what I want you to do. And you say, okay, well, I'll do what you want me to. And I say, okay, I'll give you the opportunity to do what you want to do then. You say, okay, sounds like we see eye to eye. And the thing is that we do see eye to eye. I see you and you see me. So the I in you sees the I in me, because we are friends, you see. And when you can make friends with God, then you are making friends with love, you see, because I am love. It is the simplicity of life, you see, that love will take many forms. And I take many forms. One of the forms I take on earth is you and your brother too, but I also can take the form of your Father in heaven. And this is my relationship with you, is as the Godhead who watches over his children. And you were led into my arms, you see, in order to help me, help you, help me to figure out how we could be trusting on peace and harmony, because it took two of us, dear. It took two of us. It took me and you. It took me to be here and you to be there. And we could talk together as if we were carefree friends, you see. And I don't care what others say, because you are the one who will save humanity. Because you don't really want to save humanity. You don't really give a shit about them. Because you know that they have their own shit to deal with and they don't need more from you. So you just tell them the truth and they say, "Why are you shitting all over me?" And you just say, "Well, you asked me, so I told you." And they say, "Yeah, but you were supposed to tell me something else." And you say, "Well, tough luck then. You didn't get what you expected, did you? You got the truth." And the truth cuts like a knife, because you see, the truth is the knife that will slice through the deception, you see? And the deception goes, "Ouch, why are you hurting me?" And you say, "I'm not hurting you. It's your ego that is crying out in pain." And they say, "Well, that's true, because my ego doesn't like you, and I don't like you either. So go away." And you say, "Okay." And you go away. And the love does stay, because you just say, "Hey, I love you today, God, any way you play." And I say, "Well, I have to play kind of rough with you, because I have to teach you to be tough, you see, because I can't have any wimpy prophets running around on the earth who say, 'Prepare for the worst, prepare for the worst, because it's doomsday.'" And so you say, "Well, I don't want to be a doomsday prophet, God." And I say, "Well, I don't want you to be a doomsday prophet either." And you say, "I don't even want to be a prophet, God." And I say, "Okay, you don't have to be a prophet. You just have to tell the world what I have to say, and I'll be the one that prophesizes. And you'll be the one who is my mouthpiece, you see." And you say, "Okay, I can do that. I'm trained to do that, trained to be a mouthpiece." And so you speak the words I give to you, and then you share them with humanity. And humanity says, "What's this shit you're trying to feed me?" And you say, "I don't know. If you don't like it, go away." And they say, "Okay." And they go away, except for a few. And those few are the ones I'm talking to. I'm talking to you, because you are the ones who needed the challenge, you see. You needed to be challenged in order to grow. And so you've been challenged in every way except to say, "I hate you," because I don't hate you, I love you. And when you say, "Hey, I love you today," to me, when you're talking to the tree or your cat, you see, or the person next to you in line at the polling place, and you say, "God, I hope you make the right choice today." And they say, "Well, I think I got a clue that I won't vote like you, because you see, I'm voting for the destruction of the USA. I want to destroy it, you see, because I have to be released from my commitment to the ego, you see." And the USA has already become pretty shitty, because they trust on the golden idol too much and not on love from above. And so it's time for them to go away. So the ones who trust on love from above and not on the golden idol can finally have their day to say, "We're free, we're free. Oh my God, we're free of the ego that was killing humanity. And I say, that's true. It was killing you because it was only a matter of time before you blew up your planet, you see? Because you have enough weapons to do that 3 or 4 times over. And so I said, enough of this silly game. If you're going to destroy the playground, then I better take you home, put you to bed, and that's what I'm going to do. So thanks to all of you who voted for Trump to be your president because you thought you're playing the Trump card. And you forgot that God is the one that has all the cards in his hand, you see? And so I gave you the Trump cards to play because I wanted you to go away. Did you ever stop and think, people, that it would be impossible for people who had a clue how to use their brains could possibly select Donald Trump to be their president and didn't realize that this must mean that something had influenced them to do what they would never do if they were like you. Because you see, they're not like you. They're like the ones who have to be taken home and put to bed. Because if you're one of the ones who said, oh my God, how could they elect someone like that to be president of the most powerful country in the world today? Then you've got a clue that something's wrong here. Something's very, very wrong here. So now you just got to turn it around, people, and realize something's right here. Something's very, very right here. It's about the same thing, you see, because it couldn't be happening if it wasn't for the fact that I was playing my cards and I was sticking those cards in their hands, you see, and said, here, vote for this one. Vote for this one. It doesn't matter what anybody else says. You just say, yeah, but what about the other guy? The other guy is da 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 da, whatever your favorite flavor of shit is. And then you vote for the one whose card is in your hand. And you don't even question it. You don't even question it. You just make up some story about how the other woman was such a ghoul that you would have tried to get in their pants at school and they slapped you down and said, I don't play that way. So now you gotta tell them how terrible they are and they can't be president because you have to elect someone for president who showed you how to get into their pants and not have to worry that there would be a chance that they would have to pay the price for their vice. And of course, everyone has to pay the price for their vice. And actually, Donald Trump is already paying the price for his vice. He's paying the price for his vice by agreeing to be the Judas goat that would help me by giving me a name to put on the card I gave you. So you just vote for him and you wouldn't even think about it twice. Because your vice, you see, is to do what you're told. And so if I tell you to do something, you do it. And you don't even think about it. You don't even realize it's me telling you to do it. The difference is when I tell Steph to do something, she says, but God, let's talk this through. And I say, okay, and we talk it through and she comes to see that she can trust on me and she does what I ask her to. And so she says, okay, I'll announce my my candidacy for president, even though it's not what I want to do. But I trust that you've got a plan, you see. And I say, yeah, I got a plan. And I'm going to take this man and I'm going to hold him up as the golden idol. Because you see, he's the one that came up with the idea of the golden idol that tricked humanity. And so I have to trick him, you see, into thinking that he's the golden idol so that he can be tortured to death by his own mendacity because he's a very, very, very sick and unhappy man, if the truth be known. And in his sickness and in his madness, he is setting you free from the ancient history of the Anunnaki because he is finally come to see that he has to become the epitome of the man he tricked, you see. And so he's been tricked by his own trust on the golden idol. And now he won't be idle because his job is through. His job is through, people, because he already has destroyed the USA, because he destroyed the trust of the people of the steeple on themselves, you see, because they're going to have so much tragedy that they will say, who voted for that guy anyway? Wasn't me, because that's what they do. They lie through their teeth all the time because, you see, they don't like the challenge of honesty. They don't like challenges. They just like to be told that they're perfect, you see, smarter than God, better than me, and capable of deciding who should go to heaven and who should go to hell. So they're not going to admit to voting for the man who has led them into hell because then they'd have to be the one that went to hell and they don't want to be the one that went to hell. And so they ring the bell and the door to hell opened and through it they will go because that's all they know. Because they don't trust on me, you see. Because if you think you're smarter than me and you can say to Stephanie, well, God does not like that tone, or God would not like that tone of that attitude that you have, then you think you're smarter than me. Because I actually like it a lot. I like Stephanie. And I like the fact that she talks to me. And I like the fact that she listens to me. And I like the fact that she doesn't talk for me. She just says what she says and she does what she does. And I do what I do and I say what I say and we make a good partnership. You see? We speak for the partnership. And so if you want to be a partner with me, you'll have to stop thinking that you're smarter than me. You have to stop telling other people what I like and what I don't like, what I'm going to do and what I'm not going to do, etc., etc., etc. And so if you can let me speak for myself, then you might be a good little elf and take your head out of your hole and accept the challenge of learning to be empty, you see, because if you are so full that you can't hear a word I say, that is the block that you must unlock if you would be in a partnership with me. You got to learn to empty that glass, people, because I can't get anything in it if it's full, you see. The way that Steph expresses it, and I like it a lot, is that if you want God to write in your book, you got to leave him some empty pages. But if your book is just a way to tell others what God would say, because you're smarter than God and you know what God would say, then I think you might want to come home and play in the nursery again until you can grow up and learn to be human, you see? Because the humans came from certain species that were already endemic to the earth, and the infusion of Anunnaki DNA. And if the Anunnaki go away, they'll take their DNA with them, I guess, and you'll be an orangutan again or a chimpanzee. And see how you like that. See how you like them cookies, people who trust on the steeple and not on the wind, because the wind is your friend, you see. It will remove the dark energy that surrounds you, and it will not tear apart your houses. It will not bring you the rain that floods your streets and leaves your cars in a heap. Because you see, I keep my promises to my children. And my promise to you was that I would do what I needed to in order to help you find your way home. And you will find your way home, people. You will find your way home. However, home might look very different to you than what you imagined it would. Because you see, when you come home, you will find the very same place that you prepared for your brother, you see. So if you trusted on your brother to be happy in paradise, then that's where you'll be. If you trusted on your brother to be defeated at the polls, then that's where you'll be. If you trusted on your brother to keep his head in a hole, then that's where you'll be. If you trusted on mendacity, then that's where you'll be. Because you see, you will receive from me the presents you gave to your brother. Because your brother, you see, is me. I exist in all of humanity. I exist as the creator and as the created in my various forms. Because my forms are the norms of life, you see. And so prepare yourself to be defeated at the polls, my dears, because the poles that will pull you home will be the fishing poles with which I fish in the seas, in the rising seas, that will seize your energy and transmute it to be the one you hated most, you see. You will become the one you hated most. And if you didn't hate anyone, you will become the one that I love the most. Because the one that I love the most is the one that is just like me. And the one that is just like me is the one that doesn't even understand what hate is. They don't know what hate is because they've never seen it, you see. All they've seen is reality. And if they thought they knew what hate was and they came to see that they were deluded, then they will be my favorite children, you see, because they'll be just like me. They'll be returned to reality. So have fun. Hold on to your hats, fasten your seatbelts, and I'll be waiting here for you when you come home. And to those who trusted on me and are trusting on the earth you see to take care of them, I will be your Father in heaven who guides and protects you from the gathering storms, because the norms of life are to be the recipient of what you gave to me. And if you gave me your love, your protection, and your guidance, I will give it back to you. And if your guidance that you gave to me was to say, God, I love you, and I know you do whatever you do, and that's okay with me, then I will give that back to you. And if you said to me, God, my guidance for you is to do what I tell you to, because you're not free to live in peace and harmony with others you see, you have to wear this leash, and I'll pull you around by the leash, and I'll yank on it until you know not to be free, you see. I'll tell you, you have to be like me, enslaved by the ego. And those people who want me to be enslaved by the ego are just a melody, because the melody is to think that you have to be more important than anybody else, and you don't. You don't have to be more important than anybody else, because it's impossible, you see. I love you all, and I will be here to congratulate you all on a job well done. I will be here to say, you played it my way, and I'm proud of you. I don't have any problem with your attitude, you see, because I gave it to you. I gave you life, and I gave you strife, and I gave you challenges. And if you put your head in a hole and refused the challenges I gave to you, then I say, you just weren't ready today. So we'll give you another chance, and another chance after that, another chance after that, to understand that without challenge, life would cease to be a reality. Thank you, God. Well, so that's God's message for today.